Greetings, YouTube. The doctor is in. Dr. Urias Papers here, coming at you with another commentary on Dungeons and Dragons. And today on the Doctor Spell Prognosis, we're talking about the spell Vitriolic Sphere, or Vitriolic Sphere, whatever you want to say. Potato. We're giving this spell a C for a grade, but don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, hit that like button. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave a question or a comment. All right. We're talking about a 4th level spell that takes one action. It has a range of 150 feet. It explodes in a 20-foot radius, verbal, somatic, and material component, which is worthless, so we don't really have to worry about it. And you point at a location with range, and a glowing 1-foot diameter ball of emerald acid streaks there. Doesn't say where it starts, just says you point, and it streaks to that place, but it doesn't say it streaks from you to that place. It's very important to point that out. And then it explodes in a 20-foot radius. Each creature in the area must make a dex saving throw. On a failed save, a creature takes 10d4 acid damage and another 5d4 acid damage at the end of its next turn. On a successful save, the creature takes half damage, initial damage, and no damage at the end of its next turn. When you cast this spell using a 5th level or higher slot, it does 2d4 extra damage. Okay, so I'm going to put up Fireball, and a bright streak flashes from your pointing finger to a point you choose within range. So that's a difference. You point at a location and a glowing streak's there. It doesn't say from your finger. Each creature in a 20-foot radius, same thing. 100-foot, 50-foot range, 20-foot radius, 150-foot range, 20-foot radius. Takes 8d6 fire damage, and on a failed save, half as much. And it spreads around corners. This does not say it spreads around corners. And it ignites flammable objects that aren't being worn or carried, because, as we all know, in the Dungeons and Dragons world, carried objects are immune to fire, and apparently they're also immune to some pretty potent acid that is exploded around creatures, because only creatures take damage from this very special acid. And I'm being as sarcastic as I can be. So, how are these comparisons? And the reason I'm giving this a C, well, and it's also a spell that's only usable by sorcerers and wizards, whereas Fireball is usable by sorcerers, wizards, light domain clerics, the fiend, the genie, warlocks, and the artillerist. Alchemist. So, not sure why this one isn't used by any alchemy. Well, it came out in the Elemental Evil Player's Companion, but you know, wizards could update this and put it in as a spell for the artificers, particularly the alchemist artificer, which wouldn't be able to use it till 13th level. There is that, because they're a half caster. But how does this compare damage-wise to Fireball? All right, so let's bring our handy-dandy calculator out. Fireball, and the handy-dandy calculator disappeared. Fireball is 8d6 damage. A d6 is an average of 3.5 times 8 is 28 damage. Okay, 28 damage on average. Vitriolic Sphere does 10d4 times, and that's an average of 2.5, does 25 damage plus 5d4. So if we did the 15, which the creature doesn't have a chance to not take that damage, it's 37 damage. So if we were to cast the Fireball, because we can upcast Fireball at 4th level, because that's really what we should be comparing, it's 9 times 3.5. So it's 31.5 damage versus 37.5. So Vitriolic Sphere does a little bit more damage, 6 more damage on average, to each creature that fails its saving throw. But it does 12 damage on average to creatures that pass their saving throw, whereas Fireball will do 15 damage. I don't like that the 5d4 damage comes at the end of its next turn. I think it should come at the beginning of its next turn, and I think it should last another round and do 2d4 damage, and then another round after that and do 1d4 damage. And sure, give it a saving throw for half. I think if something saves, then they should take half damage from the 10d4, and they should take half damage from the 5d4 and be done with it. If they fail their save, then they should take 10d4, 5d4, 2d4, and 1d4. And of course, we can upcast this for another 2d4 for if you cast it as a 5th level spell, and so on and so forth. So, one of the biggest differences between this and Fireball are there are fewer creatures that are resistant to acid than there are fire. There is that. So you might want to have this in your back pocket in case you don't have a Fireball, or you come up against like a Fire Giant. You could hit them with this. I don't like that this spell doesn't do damage to things like metal that's being worn, weapons that are being used. That this spell should do damage to pretty much all kinds of armor and weapons. But in D&D, worn items are completely immune to that. And apparently with this spell, so are unattended items. So, all right, that's what I got for everybody today. I appreciate everybody tuning in, and I will catch everybody later.